So's 26F ex-fiancée took his life after he found out about me 28M and blamed my so for everything. She is devastated and is beating herself up really bad about it. Pretty much my so was in a relationship with her ex-fiancé for almost 8 years. She relocated for work about 3 years ago, and he had a bunch of issues getting a visa to work in the US. So they had been in an LDR for a few years. They broke up about a year ago. The gist of it was he wanted her to move back home due to COVID, and being able to work remotely. She did not want to move back home, and I don't know everything, but it caused them to break up. I met my so over a year and a half ago through work. Originally it was more or less platonic, but after they broke up we started spending a lot more time together. Eventually we started dating about 6 months ago, and since with COVID we have pretty much been living with each other for the last few months. We get along great and we had already started talking about moving in together because everything was going so well. 2 weeks ago he apparently found out about us somehow, and stuff kind of went crazy. She started getting phone calls from him from all sorts of random numbers basically begging her to talk to him. He sent emails from tons of different addresses, tried to message her on everything. Eventually she wrote a long email pretty much explaining that she is happy and she wants nothing to do with him ever again, and some other things. It stopped after that, until this weekend on Friday when we were in bed, it started up again. She ended up just turning her phone off on my suggestion and we went to bed. On Saturday she found out from her parents that her ex had taken his life that night. She had a ton of missed calls, and messages pretty much saying what is about to happen. One of her old friends also sent screen caps of the post her ex had made where he said a lot of awful things about her, and a lot of untrue things. Since then she has been beating herself up bad. She asked me to stay with her until Monday where she said she wanted a night alone. Today I saw her and brought her favorite food, and she is a mess. She is beating herself up over this. I suggested talking to a mental health professional, but considering our city is flooded with COVID, the odds are she is not going to get much support in the short term. To make matters even worse, she has gotten a bunch of hate from friends, relatives of his on Facebook over this. I don't know what I am supposed to do, aside from being supportive. Thanks for your help, suggestions, well wishes. She was able to get a referral for someone through work, and is going to start seeing a therapist through Zoom for now. I am just going to be as supportive as I can. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, please just be supportive. Her ex was mentally unwell, they were no longer together. This was not her responsibility. Op answer, thanks, I am trying to be as supportive as possible and give her whatever she needs. It just kind of frustrates me that I feel powerless to do anything. Redditor 2, my sister took her life after a relationship breakup. She texted him her plan and he saw the message and didn't do anything besides saying please don't. I don't blame him at all for her death, she made her choice. Her disproportionate reaction was not his responsibility. I'm so sorry you and your so are dealing with this mess. It's not her fault. She'll probably be affected by this for a long time, though seeing a bereavement psychologist to help her manage this grief would be a really good thing to do, as you suggested. Getting on a wait list now will mean she will have some professional support in the future. It's never too late. For now, continuing to be understanding and letting her express her emotions is probably the best you can do, as well as practical support like providing food and helping with housework if you can. Keep reassuring her that it isn't her fault, but it's still okay and normal for her to feel however she is feeling. Being with her or giving her space as she needs is good, though if she withdraws and doesn't want to see you for days, perhaps making sure a friend or family member looks in on her would be helpful. Perhaps turning her Facebook to private or suspending her account for a while might be a good idea so she doesn't have to deal with the frankly awful, unfair, nasty messages from his family. Redditor follow-up, I know how it feels, family suicide, sending you love, and good advice too. Redditor 3, my thoughts, if he blamed her for the suicide, he most likely killed himself to hurt her, not because she didn't want him. I think she needs professional help to help her see that this isn't her fault. If it wasn't her, it could be someone or something else that had blame it on. I am suicidal. In my lovest, I hated my stepdad so much. I wanted to hurt him since I felt he didn't care about me, started arguments and talked behind my back. My plan was to off myself where he worked, so the first thing he saw was my body when he got there. My mom sensed something was up that day and stopped me on my way there. I had one of those two birds with one stone in my mind. I got help BTW and doing a lot better. Redditor follow-up, my friend's late husband did this. He committed suicide just to hurt her, because she left him. His family blames her, yet they were nowhere to be found. His niece ripped into her on SM. She only saw the side of him that he wanted her to see. I ripped into her and his entire family, saying they had no idea what was going on in their marriage and that she wasn't to blame. They are nasty people and always were. It's no one's fault when someone commits suicide. Some people are in so much pain they can't see any way out and others do it to hurt someone. They want to hurt them in the worst and biggest way possible so they will always have an affect on their life forever. Op needs to get his GF into counseling now. She needs help immediately. Redditor 4, if you're in the US, she can also call 7 Cups or NAMI's helpline for someone to talk to more quickly. I suspect she could also connect with a grief support group pretty quickly. I hope she is blocking any Cheel who has the audacity to harass and blame her. This is terrible. I'm so sorry you're both going through this. The hard thing for you to accept is that being supportive is all you can do. She's the one who's got to do the work of processing and coming to terms with what happened. It's hard to do and hard to watch. Best wishes to you both. Op answer, thanks. I will suggest her 7 Cups and NAMI. I didn't know about those at all, but she has been blocking everyone as far as I know. Thank you for the advice and well wishes. Redditor 5, I think a social media break is a good idea to avoid all the toxic stuff she's been getting. I agree therapy is a good idea. It's not her fault, but it will be hard for her not to feel like it is. The best thing you can do is be there for her, support and listen to her, and reassure her it's not her fault. Op answer, yeah, she has just been blocking most nasty people and I think she finally just made her profile private. Neither of us is huge into social media, and she did get a fair bit of support well wishers from some people who knew what happened. Redditor 6, whilst she is in the middle of this, it is going to be hard to think logically. However, one question I would ask her. What could she have done to stop him, really? Why didn't the friends he had where he was do anything? Given his past of sending her lots of messages, she would not have been able to tell these were any different. Given that he could see that his messages were going unread and blocked, he knew that she wasn't going to be able to do anything to stop him, so he made that choice knowingly. Mental health is of someone else and what they choose to do to themselves is never your responsibility. She did everything to make it clear that she had moved on and he couldn't, and didn't seek help for it but instead abused her to make her feel as painful as he did. It is a horrible and sad situation and she is not at fault here. Sometimes it is useful to talk to his parents, depending of course on their take on it. If they blame her, then keep them away, but if they understand that this was tragic but not her fault, that might help her later on. This is just my opinion of the situation. I have helped a friend through a very similar situation which has affected her greatly for many years, so we talk about it each year on his death day. Redditor follow-up, what could she have done to stop him, really? This is a key question because what it will actually come down to is that the only way she could have stopped him would be to give up her entire life and spend her life reassuring him and doing what he wants her to do. Never move on with her life, live where he tells her to live, make none of her own decisions, at the very least be available to him at all hours as a personal therapist whenever he feels suicidal. And no one should be expected to give up their own life to keep someone alive who doesn't even want to be. People who have never been there often have big ideas about what they would have done, and think you can just encourage someone to get help or give them the number of a suicide hotline or help them while they're in need and everything will be fine. In reality, you don't know when where it might happen, so you can't call the cops to interfere. They don't want to help because they're using their instability to keep your attention and you can't force them to get it. And at some point you just have to start ignoring the calls if you want to preserve your own life and sanity. She did the only healthy thing to do, even if it hurts really badly right now. I do think it is important to ask when she's in the frame of mind to think through things logically, though, as it could easily lead to a spiral of thinking about everything she could have done differently if she's in the wrong frame of mind. Redditor 7, more or less platonic. It isn't anyone's fault that he killed himself, but are you saying that you hooked up with her when she was in a relationship? Redditor follow-up, that's pretty much exactly what he's saying. Yeah, it's not anyone's fault someone committed suicide, but Op and his girlfriend are no angels in this story either. Redditor 8, if I were one of their old friends and found out about your relationship given how quickly you two moved in together, I would think that there was an affair going on before the breakup. From the outside, it looks once she got to the US she forgot about him and monkey branched to you. The timeline suggests you are stretching the truth on the overlap short interval. She broke up with her fiancé or 8 years and was practically living with a guy who was just a friend almost immediately. This is likely what she has been hearing, and given what you wrote, there is enough truth in it to make her feel like crap and cause her to reflect on her and your behavior. The usual thought process that a person goes through at the end of a relationship. Right now she is wondering if she was honest in her thoughts and actions or just knew you were waiting in the wings. She will have to work through it herself and come to the realization that his actions are his actions, and regardless of how she treated him, he still chose this course of action. Redditor follow-up, he chose to KLL himself. Even if she did cheat on him, she would not be responsible for his death. Redditor 9, what do you mean more or less platonic? Do you mean she was behaving inappropriately with you, for being a woman in a relationship? Redditor follow-up, sounds like there was some emotional connection going on prior to the breakup. More or less.